the slowest viral thing on monks, highways, and the thing your body already knows. A hymn of saffron against asphalt. Highway 90, eastbound somewhere past Houston. The shoulder is 6 feet wide, and the traffic is doing 70, and the monks are walking single file, unhurried, their robes catching in the draft of each passing truck. Close, the details are small and precise. The weave of cotton against a shin, a crack in the pavement where a weed has pushed through, sandals on gravel making no sound you could hear over the engines. A brown and white dog trotting alongside with a heart-shaped mark on his forehead and ears that swivel toward each truck like small radars, then settle back. The monks do not look at the traffic. The traffic looks at them. Pull back. The landscape is everything the monks are not. Billboards for injury lawyers, megachurch services, the new Silverado. Power lines sagging between poles in the heat. A Buc-ee's the size of an aircraft hangar. 200 gas pumps humming under a Texas sun that does not care about walking or peace or the difference between the two. The heat comes off the road in visible sheets, and through those sheets the robes look like something hallucinated, a correction the desert is making to itself. The corridor was built for speed, everything about it. The width of the lanes, the curve of the on-ramps, the height of the signs designed to be read at 70 says faster, faster to work, faster to home, faster to the thing that will make the driving worth it. The monks were an error in the system. They moved at the speed of the body, which is to say 3 miles an hour, which is to say the speed at which a human being has always moved when a human being was paying attention to the ground beneath their feet. Slower. A driver notices, the figure in the passenger seat holds up a phone. The image is a few seconds of video. Saffron against concrete, the dog's unhurried trot, the indifference of the walking to everything around it. It enters a feed, then another feed, then another. Someone shares it with a one-word caption. Someone saves it without commenting. Someone watches it 3 times before putting the phone down and staring at nothing for a minute, trying to name what they just felt. Then 3 million? This is not a story about monks. This is a story about the 3 million, about what it means when a culture drowning in noise turns its collective gaze to the slowest thing on the road and cannot look away. 19 monks left Fort Worth, Texas on October 26, 2025. They walked east, then northeast, through Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland, and arrived in Washington, D.C. on February 10, 2026. 2,300 miles. 108 days. The number was not accidental. A Buddhist mala holds 108 beads. Each bead is a breath, a mantra, a step counted on the way to the end of the strand and the beginning again. The monks made the entire country their mala and walked every bead. They were Vietnamese Theravada Buddhists from the Hoang Dao Temple in Fort Worth's Stop 6 neighborhood, a temple that had been there for 26 years without anyone outside the Vietnamese American community much noticing. Their leader, Venerable Bhikkhu Panakara, was 44. He had emigrated from Vietnam at 16, studied engineering at the University of Texas at Arlington, worked at Motorola, and then became a monk. He does not discuss the transition in terms of renunciation. He discusses it the way someone discusses finally sitting down after standing for a very long time. This was the first Dhammayitra, pilgrimage of truth, ever attempted in the United States. They ate 1 meal a day. They slept beneath trees. They carried nothing but their robes and their vow, walked for peace, not a protest, not a conversion effort, not a content strategy, a walk. Panakara's framing is the hinge on which the whole phenomenon turns. We did not come to bring you any peace, he said, but to raise the awareness of peace so that you can unlock that box and free it. He walked 2,300 miles to give people nothing. What he gave them by giving nothing became the most watched pilgrimage in social media history. A Facebook page created 13 days into the walk reached 1 million followers by January, 2 million by the end of the month. By the time the monks reached Washington, 2.9 million people were following on Facebook, another 1.9 million on Instagram. 3,500 people packed American University's Bender Arena for the arrival, and when the monks entered, the arena did something arenas almost never do. It went silent. It went silent. Then there was Aloka. The dog had found the monks 3 years earlier during a previous peace walk across India. A stray, an Indian pariah dog who simply began following. He was hit by a car during the India walk, got sick, fell behind, caught up. They named him Aloka, light, in Pali. On American highways, he wore bright outfits donated by supporters and trotted beside the road figures with the unconcerned grace of an animal who has found his people. Aloka did what no theological argument could have done. He made monks legible to people who had no framework for monks. A dog walking with his people is the most natural image in the world. It asks nothing of the viewer, no knowledge of Buddhism, no opinion on religion, no cultural competence. Just recognition. Here is a creature doing what creatures do, and the doing of it looks like the truest thing you have seen all week. On November 19, 24 days in, a pickup truck on Highway 90 near Dayton, Texas tried to pass the monk's escort vehicle on the shoulder. The truck struck the escort car and drove it into two monks walking on the roadside. One was taken by ambulance. The other, Bhante Maha Ajarn Danfamasan, 63, the abbot of a Lao American temple near Atlanta, was airlifted by helicopter. 2 weeks later, his left leg was amputated below the knee. The monks kept walking. A campaign would have stopped. A publicity stunt would have stopped. A brand activation would have held a press conference, reframed the narrative, leveraged the injury for visibility. The monks kept walking because the walk was the vow. A vow is not a strategy. A strategy adjusts to circumstances. A vow absorbs them. The road did not promise safety. It promised only itself, every mile, including the ones that break you. They walked through Louisiana in December. They crossed into Mississippi at Natchez, over the bridge that spans the river wide enough to make you forget which state you left. They walked through Alabama on Christmas. In late January in North Carolina, they walked through an ice storm. 21-degree air, sleek glazing the road, every step deliberate, every breath visible. Supporters emerged through a white curtain of snow, smiling, offering what they had. In February, Famasan rejoined the monks in a wheelchair for the final days in Washington. He addressed the crowd at the Capitol and said, "The monks never gave up." He did not call himself a victim or a hero. He called himself a monk, a person who continues. Here is what the numbers keep asking. 2.9 million followers, 1.9 million on a second platform, 21,000 concurrent viewers on the live stream from the Lincoln Memorial. So many the stream crashed repeatedly from the weight of people trying to watch monks stand still. These numbers are usually reserved for outrage, for celebrity, for conflict, scandal, spectacle, and the algorithmically optimized manufacture of engagement. The monks offered none of this. They offered putting one foot in front of the other. The algorithm served people rage, and they chose monks. That choice is the story, not what the monks did, though what they did was extraordinary. Not what Buddhism teaches, though what it teaches matters here. The story is the millions of people sitting in cars, on couches, in office chairs, holding phones, watching someone walk, and coming back the next day to watch again. One follower wrote, "You have opened a light within me that makes me want to be a kinder, more peaceful person. I think now before speaking." I think now before speaking? That is not inspiration, not the warm glow of a viral video forgotten by lunch. That is behavioral change. Something crossed the screen and rearranged the viewer. Something was transmitted. Another wrote, "The United States so desperately needs this message." The message was walking. There is a dream quality to the image that millions kept returning to, robed figures on a highway shoulder, moving at 3 miles an hour through a landscape engineered for 70. The mechanized, watching the embodied, people in climate-controlled capsules, hurtling along corridors of concrete, pausing to follow with their eyes the oldest form of human travel, one foot, then the other, on the actual ground. Monks walking past the very machines designed to make walking unnecessary, and looking, to the people inside those machines, more real than anything else in the frame. The image reversed the usual hierarchy. On a highway, the car is primary, and the pedestrian is the anomaly, the obstacle, the inconvenience. The monks inverted this without effort. They were so fully committed to walking that the cars became the abstraction metal boxes ferrying consciousness from one obligation to the next, while the only solid presence, the thing the body recognized before the mind could name it, moved at the speed of footfall on the shoulder of the road. The monks did not create the hunger. They made it visible, a mirror held up to a culture starving in the middle of a feast. And the mirror was not a critique or an argument or a thesis. It was simply a group of people doing the thing the body was built to do, with such commitment that it pierced every layer of mediation between them and the screen. The contrast was the content. Washington National Cathedral is neo-Gothic, a century old, built from Indiana limestone. Presidents have been mourned there. Wars have been blessed and protested there. It is the closest thing America has to a sacred civic architecture. On February 10, the monks walked in. It was full. Hundreds had gathered on the west lawn in the cold as the monks processed toward the entrance. Inside, Bishop Marion Eggerbud read the prayer of St. Francis, Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. The cathedral's largest bell was rung for those who had given their lives in the search for peace. Panacara stood before the congregation, monks in orange robes, Christian clergy, leaders from half a dozen traditions, and said, "This is the first time that we are working together. We are walking together on this path to find peace." No institution had convened this. No interfaith council, no diplomatic initiative, no ecumenical summit organized by people in conference rooms. 19 monks had walked 2,300 miles, and leaders from multiple religions came to meet them where they stopped. The walk was the only invitation required. But the detail that matters most happened not at the cathedral, but at every stop, in every town the monks passed through. From Fort Worth to the Carolinas to Virginia, they tied strings around people's wrists, blessing strings. Thin cords, knotted by hand, placed on the skin with a few words, "This is a connection string between this journey and you. You are part of this walk for peace. We are walking together always, not alike, not a share, not a follow, a piece of thread that touches skin. In a moment of stress, during a difficult conversation, when patience feels impossible, the string calls you back to the intention you set when you met us." The oldest technology of connection, a physical object placed on the body by a human hand, carrying shared intention from one nervous system to another. The entire digital apparatus, the platforms, the algorithms, the infinite scroll, could not do what a piece of thread did. It turned the observer into a participant, the audience into communion. Come back to the highway, the robes, the asphalt, the dog with the heart on his forehead, a line of saffron on a Texas shoulder, traffic parting at 70 miles an hour. You have seen this image before, at the beginning, when it was just a picture someone took from a passing car. Now you know what happened after. The injury, the amputation, the walking that continued, the millions who watched, the cathedral, the bell, the string on the wrist. Now look at the viewers. They were sitting in cars, on couches, in ergonomic office chairs. They were holding phones. They were still, and they were watching someone move. The hunger is not for Buddhism, not for religion, not for monks specifically. The hunger is for the body's own authority, for the evidence transmitted through a screen but originating in muscle and bone that a human being can commit to the simplest act and hold the commitment through heat and ice and injury and boredom and grief for 108 days across 2,300 miles, asking nothing in return. The thing that stopped you scrolling was the thing your body already knows how to do. Panacara said he came not to bring peace, but to raise awareness. Awareness of what? Not of Buddhism, not of mindfulness as a product you purchase. Awareness that whatever you are looking for is not in the feed. It is in the body you are using to hold the phone. All you need to do, he said, is practice mindfulness to unlock that box where you have kept peace and happiness. The box is the body. The body that has been sitting, scrolling, optimizing, performing. The body that watched monks walk and felt something it could not name, which was the memory of its own capacity, which was the recognition that the slowest thing on the highway was the most alive thing on the highway. On the final day, at the Lincoln Memorial, Panacara led a loving-kindness meditation. 21,000 people watched online. The stream crashed 3 times from the weight of people trying to be still together. 4 days later, the monks returned to the Huangdao Temple in Fort Worth's Stop 6 neighborhood. The road was the mala. The last bead had been counted. The robes, the asphalt, the dog. The highway, seen from inside a car, through a phone, across a country that cannot stop moving long enough to notice it has forgotten how to walk. But you are not watching from the car.